Hello there, welcome back. Now chances are, if you're in any way involved with the online music community, or if you play one of these, you've probably had the very acoustically pleasant honour of listening and meeting a gentleman known as Ariel Posen, and I'm more than happy to announce today that he has released a new album named Headway. Now, although I'm normally quite quick at tackling topics as they're fresh meat on the market, so to speak, when I first listened to this album last Sunday, I could immediately tell that there was a lot going on. So I wanted to give myself a little bit more time just to kind of get through all those layers and just to make sure that I was happy with my thoughts before bringing them to you. And since Ariel is one of my favourite guitarists at the moment in the present scene, I don't really want to waste too much time in getting into what I think about the album, so why don't we grab our caffeinated beverages, get ready, caffeine up with me, why don't ya? And let's strap in to talk about a gentleman who's so damn good at playing, he even received a shout out from a certain Mr. John Mayer on Instagram. Praise be thy, Mr. Mayer. Mr. Fred, although your hair is looking amazing, and your face is clean and shaven, we are perplexed as to how and why, today, of all days, you are so quick and expedient, as opposed to normally shitting around with us and gagging constantly before actually getting to the fucking point. What's happening? I demand answers. If my demands are not met within the next 2.5 minutes, I challenge you to a duel under the great oak at 8 p.m. sharp. Be there! Oh, shut up! Get the fuck out of here! And if you'll pardon the interruption by who at this point is now a colleague, in a way, as much as I resent it, you got me there. As much as I would like to thank and appreciate these lovely compliments with regards to the state of my hair and the effort I went to shaving my face to not look like a homeless man for the 1000th time, I think I have so much to say, really, that I don't really want to waste too much more of your time. Because we all know that never happens here. So, Headway. My first listen through, really, the impression I got that it was a bit of a different piece of work than what I'm used to hearing from Ariel Posen, and considering especially his musical transition in the past couple of years, as opposed to how I met him when I was, watching some Anderton's videos, watching some demos, and you could hear him and Joss Allen shred, for example, or you could hear him play really melodically and tastefully alongside Danish Pete, and just all this versatility that he had. I think Headway really stands as an elegant and refined piece of work that kind of speaks to the musical and possibly personal journey that he may have had in the past couple of years. He's now moved on to the point where if I think of slide guitar playing in the modern guitar and music scene, he's one of the first people I think of. I'm personally very fond of him with regards to his slide playing and open tuning interpretation of the guitar, and I can't lie, he's been one of my biggest inspirations with regards to picking up some of these bad boys and giving it a go myself. So having Headway sit as, in a way, a climax, a culmination of his experience in the music scene, and as he goes on to say in an interview published yesterday with Thomann, which you can find linked down below, it's just a very pleasant chat that you can sit in and listen to get some insight as to the writing of the album. Headway comes about as a result of musical evolution and transition through years of performing live and adapting to new ideas, new inspirations, all with a very strong emphasis on songwriting and creativity, and as he says, doing something different, moving on from constantly performing the same things live and trying to reinvent, in a way, his own playing, which from what we know, he's so damn good he needs to reinvent himself every couple of years just to have some stimulus. In Headway, we are looking at what comes across as a very intimate display of Ariel's songwriting, and that can be really perceived from all dimensions, from his choice of lyrics, from the tone and timbre of voice that he decides to use in singing along to his songs, and frankly it's quite palpable in the, I don't want to constantly use the word delicate, but I'm going to use it, delicate melodies that he just comes about experimenting in his open tunings and standard with his slide, and it all comes together quite effectively, to be honest. So in a way, this heartfelt piece of work really comes across as one of the hardest things to do for guitarists, musicians, and singers, or anyone really, identifying and coming up with your sound. When listening to Headway, what really comes across is a very chill and soft vocal, which accompanies melodic choices, which are in a way unorthodox, but feel very organic, and all kind of tied together with a guitar tone, which is both powerful enough to just kind of break through the mix, but still camouflage itself amongst the rest of everything that's going on, with a bit of a fluffy headroom, but at the same time a very clear-cut base of the sound. This, from what I can perceive and what I've understood of his interviews and his thoughts on the album itself, is really, this is his sound. This is what he's arrived to, this is what he's developed, and this is who he is. For those of you who watched my video last Sunday on the Kings of Leon's new album, you'll know that one of my main gripes with it was that it didn't feel like there was much of a progression with regards to the overall flow of the album. And Headway, in opposition, I just feel like, with all the ingredients we've just mentioned, comes up with an original way to offer some good dynamics with regards to the flow of the album, even if the majority of the songs shares the same sort of chill palette in the sense of the backdrop. All the elements of variety that I've mentioned up to this point really contribute in offering a holistic experience. So we don't necessarily start from one point and end at the same point. Even just looking at the title of the songs, we start off with Heart by Heart, and we finish with Now I See, following just a series of hurdles, and we're going up and down, getting to that conclusion. So although I don't really necessarily go out of my way to listen to a lot of music anymore in this vein, I can't use that as an excuse to fault the project in any way. It ticks the boxes, and I've got to point that out. And on the topic of aspects that I don't really tend to gravitate towards, the vocal work as well is not normally my style, and I had a bit of a mixed relationship with it throughout the course of the album. It was refined, it was quite elegant. Frankly, in a good chunk of it, it really reminded me of John Mayer for a little bit. But especially recently, I tend to go for stuff that's a little bit more energetic. So in a way, I got the impression that Ariel's voice kind of floated around in symmetry with the guitar's tone, just having that slightly hazy headspace that I couldn't really identify, but at the same time being very clear and cut and to the point. Which, again, although it's not my typical cup of tea, I quite enjoyed at the end of the day. And that goes without even addressing the fact that his voice is perfect for the tone of the album and the lyrics that he chooses to cover. And pardon this interruption of the regularly scheduled programming, but if you have been enjoying my memes, my opinions, and my thoughts on general and possibly random shit thus far, you may want to consider subscribing down below for more thoughts on future random shit. That's enough of me. Back to the regularly scheduled programming. Thank you for your attention to these messages. So now really is the time that I'm assuming most of you have been waiting for, where I'm just going to talk about the guitar work. Now, I don't think anyone was expecting any different opinion than the one that's following this statement, that Ariel's work on the guitar is the main attraction of the album. It's melodically interesting, it's rhythmically interesting, the chords are beautiful, and it's very expressive at the same time. Plus, in all of this, he still has that ability to kind of push it up to 11 when it's time to pop in with a little solo when need be. But it all still fits really well, and seriously, the slide guitar work is just such a massive highlight. I love it. You can really tell it's just his modern approach to it, and it's very inspiring, and I'd love to get myself on that way to learning some of those songs. All this done with an incredible emphasis on variety, on trying to find new ways to write songs and write the music. And we get to witness some electric guitar work in standard, some resonator work and open tunings with some slide kind of going on in the background. We get to listen to open tunings on the electric guitar, slide guitar, normal, just regular finger guitar. We get to listen to the implementations of the broadcast pedal, his signature one, which really dials in his signature tone. So I mean, that it's kind of doing its job, with the addition of a great emphasis on some tasteful integration of fuzz. I'm a bit weary about mentioning and linking that I have once before discussed my love and fondness of fuzz as an always-on pedal, and I'm really glad to hear Ariel share my sentiments once again. One of the things that he goes to trouble of pointing out, and that really comes across, is just an emphasis on simplicity. You know, not going too crazy with it. There was an integration of wah, for example. There wasn't a use of phasing pedals. There wasn't anything beyond, just creative microphone placements, a fuzz pedal, the broadcast, and a little bit of reverb. And in a way, using these finite methods of kind of forging his own sound pushes his creativity to just come up with new ways of interpreting very much the same thing, but in the different iterations that come across throughout the album. And at all of this, it all just comes together as neatly and tidily as if he didn't make these creative choices to push himself to go out of his way to find something different. So all in all, great album. I have absolutely no complaints. Realistically, I got none. The guitar work is extraordinary. I mentioned that little thing about the voice, but it's serviceable, and I really like the overall tone and feel of the album. It's very honest, hard on the sleeve kind of business, and that's what I like at the end of the day. And it got a shout out by John Mayer, so I don't think he can complain about that. Like that's. I would love to get a shout out of John Mayer. John Mayer? Well, can I call John? I don't know if you have better hair than I do, but you got pretty nice hair, so I think we can agree on some stuff. But yeah, that other train wreck aside, great album. I really enjoyed listening to Ariel just kind of free from, any sort of creative shackle, just come up with his own music and speak from the heart. Really good stuff. That being said, thank you very much for tuning in. I really thoroughly enjoyed this opportunity to speak my mind on this new album, and that's kind of it. Subscribe if you're new. Thank you for tuning in. I'll see you soon. And thus, off I will fuck.